An entire empire vanished from history, erased so completely that for 3,000 years we thought it was just a myth. This is the story of the civilization that challenged Egypt, built an iron army, and then disappeared without a trace. This is the story of the Hittites. Our story begins in the rugged heartland of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. Around 1650 BC, while Egypt was building its new kingdom and Babylon was a center of learning, a new power was stirring. The Hittites, a people speaking an ancient Indo-European language, burst onto the scene. They weren't just another small kingdom. They were ambitious, organized, and ruthless. Their first great king, Hattusili I, established a capital at Hattusa, a fortress city built on rocky cliffs, a near-impenetrable stronghold that would become the nerve center of their growing empire. From this mountain fortress, they launched campaigns that stunned the ancient world. They didn't just conquer their neighbors. They marched hundreds of miles to sack the legendary city of Babylon itself, ending its dynasty and reshaping the political map of the entire Near East. How did this previously unknown group achieve such a feat? The answer lies in two revolutionary advantages: the horse and iron. While other armies relied on foot soldiers and donkey carts, the Hittites perfected the light three-man war chariot. It was faster, more stable, and more deadly than anything their enemies had ever seen. Imagine a battlefield dominated by slow-moving infantry suddenly being torn apart by squadrons of these ancient tanks, firing arrows with devastating precision. They were the blitzkrieg of the Bronze Age, but their true secret weapon was still being forged. The Hittites were among the first to master ironworking on a large scale. While their rivals fought with soft bronze weapons that would bend and break, Hittite warriors wielded swords of iron, stronger, sharper, and far more durable. This technological edge gave them an almost unfair advantage in close combat, turning battles into massacres. But the Hittites were more than just brutal warriors. They were master diplomats and innovators. They created one of the most advanced legal codes of the ancient world. Unlike the famous eye for an eye code of Hammurabi, Hittite law focused on restitution rather than revenge. If you stole a bull, you didn't lose your hand. You paid back its value, often multiple times over. This practical approach helped maintain social stability across their diverse and sprawling empire. Their diplomacy was equally sophisticated. They didn't just conquer. They created a network of vassal states bound to them by intricate treaties. Hundreds of these treaties inscribed on clay tablets have been discovered at Hattusa. These weren't simple demands of loyalty. They were complex legal documents outlining mutual obligations, trade agreements, and military alliances. It was an ancient version of NATO, with the Hittite Great King at its center. But as their power grew, a collision with the other great superpower of the age became inevitable. In the south, the mighty Egyptian empire under the ambitious pharaoh Ramesses II was expanding its influence into the Levant, the same territory the Hittites claimed as their own. The stage was set for one of the most famous and colossal battles in ancient history, the Battle of Kadesh. Ramesses marched north with an army of over 20,000 men confident of victory. The Hittites, under their king Muwatalli II, were waiting for him. They laid a brilliant trap. Using captured spies to feed the Egyptians false information, the Hittites concealed their entire chariot force, tens of thousands strong behind the city of Kadesh. As Ramesses' division advanced, believing the Hittite army was miles away, the ground began to tremble. The Hittite chariot corps slammed into the unprepared Egyptian flank, shattering their lines and sending them into a panic. The battle devolved into a chaotic brawl. Ramesses himself was nearly captured, saved only by the timely arrival of his reinforcements. In the end, both sides claimed victory. Ramesses covered the temples of Egypt with heroic reliefs of his supposed triumph, but the reality was a bloody stalemate. The Hittites had fought the world's greatest superpower to a standstill. So what happens when two titans clash and neither can win? They make peace. The aftermath of Kadesh led to the world's first surviving international peace treaty, the Treaty of Kadesh. A copy of this incredible document, inscribed on a silver tablet, is now displayed at the United Nations as a symbol of early diplomacy. The treaty didn't just end the war. It established a formal alliance between Egypt and the Hittites. They promised perpetual peace, mutual defense against enemies, and even extradited political refugees. To seal the deal, a Hittite princess was sent to Egypt to marry the pharaoh Ramesses, a marriage celebrated with great fanfare. For a time, it seemed these two empires would share the world. But a new, more mysterious threat was emerging, one that neither treaties nor iron weapons could stop. If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe for more hidden history. Around 1200 BC, a perfect storm of disasters began to sweep across the ancient world. Historians call it the Late Bronze Age collapse. Widespread drought and famine gripped the region, leading to crop failures and social unrest. But the biggest threat came from the sea. A mysterious confederation of tribes known to the Egyptians only as the Sea Peoples began a wave of migrations and raids across the Mediterranean. They toppled kingdoms, burned cities, and disrupted trade routes that had existed for centuries. The Hittite Empire, already weakened by internal power struggles and famine, was directly in their path. The last communications from the Hittite king, Suppiluliuma II, are desperate pleas for grain shipments from his vassals. One of the last letters found, sent from the king of Ugarit, a coastal vassal state, reads, "My father, behold, the enemy's ships came. They have set fire to my cities and have done evil things in my country." After that silence, the great capital Hattusa was violently sacked and burned to the ground. The sprawling empire, which had lasted for nearly 500 years, shattered into pieces. And then the Hittites simply vanished. Their cities were abandoned, their language was forgotten, and their entire history was lost. For the next 3,000 years, they survived only as a footnote in the Old Testament, a small, obscure tribe. Scholars debated if they had ever been a major power at all. They became a ghost, a lost empire that no one could find. It wasn't until the late 19th and early 20th centuries that the story began to change. Archaeologists exploring a site in Turkey called Bogazki stumbled upon the ruins of a massive, forgotten city. It was Hattusa. And within its ruins, they found the royal archives, over 30,000 cuneiform clay tablets. When scholars finally deciphered the unknown language on these tablets, the truth was revealed. This wasn't some minor tribe. This was the seat of a mighty empire, the equals of Egypt and Babylon. The tablets told their story. Their laws, their religion, their wars, and their diplomacy. They told of kings who called the pharaoh brother and conquered Babylon. The lost empire had been found. The Hittites were resurrected from the dust, reclaiming their rightful place as one of the great civilizations of the ancient world. Their story is a powerful reminder that even the mightiest empires can fall and be forgotten, and that history is full of secrets, just waiting to be rediscovered. Subscribe to uncover more stories history tried to hide.